Hey everyone, this is MNL2, and today in this video, I want to take a look at all of the roller coasters that reside at Knott's Berry Farm and find out which roller coasters are going to deliver the most intense experiences. For the purposes of this video, when I refer to intensity or an intense moment, I mostly interpret it as having a feeling of sheer speed, considerable positive G-forces, or moments that make you feel like you're going to be ripped apart from the ride. Another thing, keep in mind that this list does not actually reflect how much I like each ride or how I rank them overall in the park. This list is simply based on which coasters I find to be the most intense. One more thing, if you find yourself enjoying any of my videos or find them interesting, informative, or entertaining in any way, then please feel free to like the video below to help out the channel and to help me to keep providing good content for your enjoyment. Thank you. HangTime is Knott's Berry Farm's newest roller coaster, a Gerstlauer Infinity coaster opening in May of 2018. It was also the first major coaster to be added to the park since Silver Bullet opened in 2004. Now, Knott's isn't exactly known for building the craziest, most intense roller coasters ever, for the most part. So HangTime wasn't exactly designed to be a super crazy intense coaster, but rather a slightly intimidating one with overall just fun moments. Taking a look at the drop, it is a bit of an adrenaline rush as it holds you right before California's steepest drop, a 96-degree descent. This moment pulls some crazy wild ejector in the back seat as you get aggressively thrown over that drop, which really emphasizes the feeling that the ride is trying to rip you apart. But aside from that moment, there aren't too many parts of this ride that I would consider very intense. There aren't too many positive G's pulled on this ride, and ironically, there isn't much hang time either, nor are there any super snappy or whippy transitions. The only other somewhat aggressive elements on this ride are the airtime hills immediately before and after the Cobra roll, as they do provide some decent ejector. Other than that, this coaster isn't a super intense ride. So I don't exactly know what's up with the Schwarzkopfs in California, but similarly to New Revolution at Six Flags Magic Mountain, I don't find this coaster to be super intense, as I would assume other more famous Schwarzkopfs to be. Though this ride is much shorter than New Revolution, I do actually find it to be slightly more intense. Not only is this a launched coaster, but it is also a shuttle coaster, meaning you're going to go through its signature circular vertical loop both forwards and backwards. Going through the loop forwards doesn't feel that intense to me, as it just doesn't seem like it pulls very many positive Gs, but when it goes through that circular loop backwards, it is so much more of an interesting feeling, and I do find it to be just a bit more intense. As for the spikes, they don't really contribute to the intensity aspect, so I'm not really going to say anything about them. Overall, I would say that this coaster is just a bit more intense than HangTime, but I wouldn't say that it is super intense overall. So, if you've been watching my videos recently, you're probably expecting me to just rant about how overrated GhostRider is, but I do actually legitimately want to talk about this ride for once. So, from start to finish, I will commend this ride for having some pretty good pacing, as it doesn't really feel like it loses its speed at any point, with the exception of the mid-course turnaround. I wanted to mention its pacing primarily because it contributes a lot towards the second half of this ride's head chopper effects. This ride is a double out and back, and the second time you go out and back, you spend pretty much the whole time flying through this massive wooden structure, giving you a great sensation of sheer speed, along with several small bunny hills to emphasize the head chopper effect. This illusion that you're going to be decapitated at any moment really contributes to the overall intensity of this experience, even though those bunny hills I mentioned don't actually deliver any airtime. The only real moments of airtime on this ride are the first giant floater hill after the drop, and the drop off the mid-course, and especially when you were sitting in the back. The back row is overall just going to deliver a more intense experience, by the way, as you are also going to be somewhat whipped over the first drop. Another moment I wanted to highlight is actually the first turn immediately following the first drop. It is an unusual moment because it just snaps you to the left right after reaching the ride's top speed. This is honestly the one moment of the ride that feels somewhat like a normal originally built GCI, such as Gold Striker or Apocalypse, both rides that I find to be significantly better than GhostRider. And so the last part to talk about is that final helix. I just wanted to address it because I know that if I didn't, literally everyone is going to say something about this helix. The helix pulls laterals. They're okay, I guess. Not super intense, and honestly, I think the Flash Speed Force pulls more laterals than this helix. And so does any old generic scrambler.
Okay, so we are about to ride this scrambler, and this is a good ride. I heard from many people when I was visiting here.
So overall, though I do not find this ride to be as good as people say it is, I do think that it is an overall fun coaster. Not too extreme, but in the words of RMC guy,
it's a wholesome ride, yeah.
I would say that this ride is moderately intense, but not very aggressive or out of control as, let's say, Apocalypse or Gold Striker. Nothing will change my mind, I'm sorry. Silver Bullet is the park's B&M inverted coaster, and is overall the smoothest B&M that I have ever ridden. Which makes me question how Tatsu has aged much worse than Silver Bullet, when Silver Bullet is literally 2 years older than Tatsu, but oh well. Also, I just wanted to mention that I do find the other B&M inverts in California to be even more intense than Silver Bullet, but that doesn't mean Silver Bullet is Huh? You're not even in California. You're not even a B&M invert. Go away. Silver Bullet is often looked down upon for not having a significant first drop. Sure, the first drop isn't very steep, but also I don't really find it to be taking away from the ride very much. But anyways, looking at the layout, there are 5 really outstanding moments that contribute a lot to this ride's intensity. The first moment is, of course, the bottom of the first drop leading into the vertical loop, and actually sustaining all the way until the transition out of the vertical loop. It honestly feels like 2 smaller bursts of sustained positive G-forces, which is really cool because you get that space of breathing room while atop the vertical loop. But unlike Flight Deck, this ride doesn't have an incredible upwards helix immediately following for more aggression. Skipping past the floater overbank turn and the iconic Cobra roll, the next moment I want to talk about is the 0G roll. Though I find Scream, Flight Deck, and Batman the Ride 0G rolls to be much more snappy, this is still a solid moment on the ride, and if you are sitting on the edge seat, preferably in the back row, this is a pretty aggressive moment. Next is actually probably one of the most underrated elements on a coaster. So the first few times I rode this coaster, I wasn't always sitting in the front seat, and so this moment actually caught me off guard. It deceives you by snapping you in a motion that feels as if you're going to go through a corkscrew, but then halfway through it snaps you back the other way, and then proceeds to throw you into an actual corkscrew. It is a pretty intense transition, as it not only messes with your brain just a bit, but the double snapping motion in opposite directions is just incredible. The corkscrew itself is nothing crazy, especially when compared to Batman the Ride or Flight Deck, but the following upwards double helix is by far the most intense moment on this coaster. Not only are you right above the water, but you are also pulling far more positive G-forces than the first vertical loop pulled, and it is sustained for a seemingly very long time, kind of similar to Flight Deck's upwards helix. Or Flight Deck's helix above the water. Just not as good. But overall, this coaster is a very intense experience from start to finish, and though I find Flight Deck to be more intense, this is still a very intense coaster. Seriously, like, go ride Flight Deck. Like now. What are you waiting for? Anyways, it's time to move on to what I believe is the most intense roller coaster at Knott's Berry Farm. Originally, it was a somewhat hard decision between this next coaster and Silver Bullet, but when I thought about it more, it just made so much more sense to put this next coaster at number 1. So let's go ahead and talk about it. Jaguar is a Zerier family coaster, but it is by far the most intense coaster. I mean, just look at how long those trains are. It's Xcelerator. It's Xcelerator. Xcelerator is an Intamin hydraulic launch coaster, more specifically called an Intamin Xcelerator, and was actually the first Intamin Xcelerator to ever be built. This coaster has the fastest acceleration in all of California, and it is a feeling that just needs to be experienced to be understood. The feeling of launching to 82 miles per hour in only 2.3 seconds gives this coaster one of the most intense first 2.5 seconds ever. And this is just the launch. Moving on to the top hat, boy does this thing do a number. So first of all, the pull up into the top hat pulls a solid burst of positive G-forces, and immediately after, the snap rotating you to the right pulls a solid amount of laterals as well. Then, if the ride is running fast, you can get snapped over that top hat, providing a similar feeling that you will feel getting snapped off of Full Throttle's top hat, an insanely aggressive moment of ejector. Then, you get to re-experience those laterals on the way down, and then positives for pretty much the rest of the ride. The overbank turns don't really do anything other than make you realize how rattly this coaster is, but they are there, and yeah, that's just about it. But between the launch and the top hat, the first 7 or so seconds of this coaster are absolutely astonishing. You literally feel every possible type of G-force that a coaster can possibly exert on your body during this ride. You get the horizontal forward-facing Gs, you get positives, laterals, negatives. Then, as an added bonus, the final brake one will give you horizontal forward-facing Gs, but in the opposite direction as the launch. So, in the end, I just find Xcelerator to be the most intense roller coaster at Knott's Berry Farm, and furthermore, the most intense Intamin in California, and definitely the most intense Intamin that I've ridden as of right now. I mean, sure, I'll be riding Intimidator 305 pretty soon, but wait, I'm sorry. Did I say Intimidator 305? I meant Upskilled Goliath, because that's all it is. Intimidator 305 is literally just Goliath, but bigger. Huh? Intimidator 305? What are you doing here? How did you even get here?
That's it. You have taken this too far. I've come to teach you a lesson.
Taken this too far? It's just an opinion. I think you're overrated. You're the one getting all butthurt about it.
Silence. Since you can't learn to appreciate my insanely intense experience, I'm going to have to overwhelm you.
Too much force.
What are you doing?
I'm trimming
driven from Carowinds. No, I'm losing G-forces.
Not only are you overwhelming, but you're overrated.
I almost died. The roller coaster almost killed me. Put some of these right here, just like that. That over here, this over there. This is gonna be so legit. I really don't even know anymore. These videos have really become something else. Yeah, now might be a good time to mention that in real life, I just can't stay serious about like literally anything for more than 5 minutes. So, yeah, aside from my actual informative videos or the future Raptor construction updates, don't expect my videos to be 100% serious because I just get bored too easily. Anyways, I hope you guys enjoyed the video, as well as that little random skit at the end. I would love to hear what coasters you find to be the most intense at Knott's Berry Farm, or some other crazy intense coasters that you have ridden elsewhere. If you did end up enjoying the video, then please feel free to leave a like and subscribe with notifications turned on, so you'll be alerted whenever I upload a new video. But anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Goodbye.